Hello, my name is Kweku Bwama. This is my Diet Health Claims presentation assignment, and the topic I will be going over is Does the Mediterranean diet improve cardiovascular health? So, first things first, what is the Mediterranean diet? Well, it's a traditional food diet for countries that border the Mediterranean Sea. As you can see in this picture that I have right now, it'd be countries like Spain, Italy, Turkey, and I think Egypt too. In order to answer the claim of whether or not the Mediterranean diet has a good effect on cardiovascular health, first we need to know the components of the Mediterranean diet. So the first component that I've listed here is extra virgin olive oil. It provides unsaturated fatty acids and fat-soluble vitamins to the diet. Next will be legumes, cereals, and nuts, which provide flavonoids and energy. Flavonoids are like these chemicals that provide multiple benefits to the body. Fruits and vegetables, they provide vitamins and minerals, which serve a very similar function to flavonoids. And continuing from there, we have dairy products, yogurt, cheese, and other fermented dairy products. We have fish that provide omega-3 fatty acids. However, they can be contaminated by the environment due to the pollution that's been going on over so many years. And then we have wine, which provides alcohol as a luxury drink. We also have to go over factors that affect cardiovascular health. As a warning, not every factor that affects cardiovascular health is completely related to the Mediterranean diet. So for the slides ahead, I have highlighted the factors that are most relevant to this presentation. So for the social factors, you have poverty, pollution, anxiety, sleep disorders, and psychological disorders, with poverty and pollution highlighted because pollution affects the fish that's being eaten, and poverty affects the ability of someone to actually have the diet. Moving on to lifestyle, we have unhealthy diet, physical inactivity, alcohol, and smoking. Unhealthy diet is highlighted because Mediterranean diet is a diet meant to address this. Physical inactivity is also highlighted because the Mediterranean diet would provide a healthy diet, which should help it motivate someone to be involved in physical activity. And alcohol is highlighted because alcohol is a part of the Mediterranean diet. And now the diseases, they are all highlighted because each and every one of these diseases can have can be directly affected by the Mediterranean diet. So they're all highlighted here, but we have hypertension, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, obesity, chronic kidney disease, and inflammation and infection. Now I would like to talk about how the Mediterranean diet is actually linked to cardiovascular health. So the first things first would be the unsaturated fatty acids, because they are known to improve cardiovascular health by lowering the amount of low density lipoprotein fat in the body and encouraging the increase of high density lipoprotein in the body. Next, I would like to talk about our flavonoids and vitamins and minerals. Flavonoids are known to decrease cholesterol and blood pressure, as well as regulate energy metabolism, which are all very important when it comes to taking care of your heart and your cardiovascular system. And vitamins and minerals support numerous body functions, which, since the entire body is connected through multiple organ system interactions, the support of these functions contribute to the overall health of the cardiovascular system. However, it should be noted that excessive consumption of certain vitamins can lead to vitamin toxicity, which is not healthy for you or your cardiovascular system. Next are omega-3 fatty acids, and all this entire slide is kind of just related to fish in general, but omega-3 fatty acids are associated with multiple benefits for cardiovascular health. And and the problem with the omega-3s when they come from fish is that the pollutants in that have been in the ocean over many, many years, the fish starts eating those pollutants like the plastic and like the small trace amounts of mercury that's starting to be found in some fish species. So if certain species of fish are consumed in excess, it can lead to poisonings or foreign materials in your body, and it cannot be healthy in the long run. The dairy products that come from the Mediterranean diet can help improve the gut microbiome, which play a huge role in regulating energy metabolism and the collection of fat in your body, which is really important for whether your heart is healthy or not, and whether your cardiovascular system runs well. And last is alcohol. Surprisingly, alcohol can actually be pretty beneficial when consumed moderately. However, alcohol, as is well known, has a risk for addiction, has a risk for alcohol addiction, which will cause a lot of problems down the line, not just for your blood, but for the rest of your body. And too much alcohol at once will lead to blood alcohol poisoning, which is also really not good for you. I will now like to reference the research articles I used to help answer the question of whether or not the Mediterranean diet is beneficial to cardiovascular health. The first journal is from the Journal of Internal Medicine, and it's a published review that examined multiple meta-analysis and randomized control trials assessing the effects of the Mediterranean diet on cardiovascular risk factors and diseases. The first meta-analysis that I went over in this review was shown to have found a slight decrease in LDL levels and a slight increase in HDL levels that are associated with Mediterranean diet use. And the data came from 5 randomized controlled trials. The second one showed reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure that came from 6 randomized controlled trials. The Medida study, which was also in the review, showed that individuals with type 2 diabetes that were on the Mediterranean diet had improved coronary risk factors when shown through the study. And the Lion Diet Heart Study, the PredMed trial, and also a very recent meta-analysis of 3 randomized controlled trials all showed that patients on the Mediterranean diet had reduced instances of heart attacks, strokes, and death due to cardiovascular issues. My second research article is from MDPI. It is a systemic review and meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials that tested the Mediterranean diet's effects on metabolic syndrome, which is a very prominent risk factor for cardiovascular disease. There are 57 unique trials that were done in total, and they're all pooled together and qualitatively analyzed on a data table, which showed that the Mediterranean diet has significant results for body weight reduction, BMI reduction, waist circumference reduction, systolic and diastolic blood pressure reduction, glucose reduction, insulin reduction, total cholesterol reduction, LDL cholesterol reduction, HDL cholesterol increase, triglyceride reduction, hepatic fat reduction, increase in markers for endothelial function, which basically shows endothelial cells are the cells that line the blood vessels. So if there's increased function, that means they're doing well, and a decrease in some inflammatory markers, which shows decrease in inflammation. My last research article is a randomized controlled trial from The Lancet, which compared the Mediterranean diet to a low-fat diet and compared their ability to prevent cardiovascular disease over long term. The Mediterranean diet was shown to have a better ability to decrease major cardiovascular events due to a decrease of 26% in the hazard ratios between the Mediterranean diet and the low-fat diet. This disparity is made even bigger when only accounting for men, as there's a 33% reduction in major cardiovascular events between the Mediterranean diet and low-fat diet when just men are taken into account. And so, in summary, I support the claim that Mediterranean diet improves cardiovascular health. The components of the Mediterranean diet are known to help reduce risk factors that are associated with cardiovascular disease. It is important to be cautious with the overconsumption of some parts of the diet, fish, vitamins, and alcohol, as it can lead to toxicities and poor cardiovascular health. And there have been many randomized controlled trials and systemic reviews that show a consistent trend of Mediterranean diets directly reducing incidence of cardiovascular disease and other diseases that might also trigger cardiovascular disease, like metabolic syndrome. This is my work cited page. I have cited all my sources and all my articles here, and This is my outfit for the presentation. I am dressed professionally, as you can see. And yeah, that will be all. Thank you for listening to my presentation.